Hello and you're very welcome to the JMAC Podcast. I'm John Wan. Of course, the podcast is brought to you by ourgarage.com. Use the code JMAC Podcast to get 15% off on their website. And tonight, I'm joined by Matthew Hurley from the GAA Statsman and former Cork All-Star Daniel Goulding to look back on last weekend's Alliance Football League finals, and we'll have a quick look at the championship action taking place this weekend. It's only April, but with the championship already to look forward to, that's the condensed season for you. I will start off with Dan. How are you keeping, Dan?
I'm good, John. Thanks. Delighted for you. Bit of silverware, make up for the Charlton Cup. Things looking up. I have a blue jumper on and all for you.
We'll send you up a Cavan jersey, big man. Get you onto the dark side. Matt, how are you?
Yeah, all good, my man. Yeah, sure. Yeah, the league finals, bit of a strange weekend as we were saying off air there. The Division 4 final looked the most entertaining, which, to be honest, it probably shouldn't have been the case. So we had all of them on paper, but look, championship starting next week now. Mayo Roscommon should be an interesting game, and it's the championship on Sunday, and it's hard to believe, really, isn't it?
Yeah. The times are changing. I think it'll take a good bit of time to get used to it. Good weekend, Dan.
Good weekend, yeah. Watching league finals, half watching them, trying to mind kids, flat out. Training Saturday morning, and still barely walk. So all good, yeah, all good.
Oh, brilliant stuff, Dan. Brilliant stuff. What about yourself, Matt?
Yeah, right home for Easter from Scotland now. Back to Dublin, back to Cork then. And watched the league finals, just like yourselves, lads. And enjoyed them. The weekend on the couch. And preparing for the championship next weekend now. And hopefully we'll be going to Ennis for my first GAA game since, I'd say, January. So, yeah, looking forward to it.
Brilliant stuff. Joined by two Corkmen tonight, so that is great to see. We'll hopefully have Kevin McGarty now, so he will be rattling a few cages in very due course. So, lads, a bit of housekeeping before we get the ball rolling. The GAA.ie football team of the week, as we discussed off air. Well, here it is live. You have Colm Reap from Mayo between the sticks. Full back line of Jack Coyne, Sean Kelly, and Cavan's Pork Faulkner. Half back line of Luke Towie, John Small, and Paddy Durkin. Midfield of Garo McKernan and Dublin's Brian Fenton. Half forward line of Paddy Lynch, Aidan O'Shea, and Shane Wigan. And completing the GAA.ie team of the week is a full forward line of Niall Murphy, Dublin's Colin Callan, and Mayo's Ryan O'Donoghue. And the Buller of the week nominees for this week are Mayo's Colm Reap, Sligo's Niall Murphy, and Dublin's John Small. Mr. Goulding, any surprises in that GAA.ie team of the week?
I wouldn't say surprised. I suppose Gerard McCurnan's probably lucky, I suppose, in midfield. Still played well, but look, I think wasn't one of the shining lights for Cavan. I suppose a bit like the All-Stars. I don't think actual positions where you play in the pitch make a huge amount of difference. I think you nearly have 6 inside forwards filling the full forward team. So your 6 forwards are inside forwards. So I don't know. I think there's getting scores is nearly rewarded if you're on team of the week. If you get scores, you nearly have a better chance to make it.
Yeah, it was definitely a couple of odd decisions. Like I was kind of saying off air to you, the Cavan's Kieran Brady got man of the match on Saturday, and he wasn't involved in the team of the week. So I would love to know who was picking and choosing these teams, Mr. Hurley.
Yeah, two that popped into my head just now. Like you were talking about Gareth McKiernan there, like Dermot O'Connor for me. I thought he was excellent, especially the first half for Mayo. He's blocking down, driving on forward. I thought he was excellent in that Division 1 final. And another one, I know he lost the game on Saturday in Division 4, but Kevin Quinn for Wicklow with 5 points. I thought he was superb. He probably deserved to be on team of the week. But yeah, maybe it's just the players for the bigger teams. And Niall Murphy was the Division 4 player of the week there, but like Kevin Quinn definitely deserves a shout in that team, and possibly you could name any goalkeeper. Like Colm Reap was excellent, but you could say Ray McGalligan, Sean McNally from Fermanagh, the Sligo goalkeeper was excellent as well, even David O'Hanlon for Dublin. So it was a weekend really of goalkeepers, but yeah, a few strange picks, but overall maybe 12 or 13 maybe was just about right.
And who would be your player of the week, Dan?
Player of the week, do you know what? Brian, I don't know who didn't score from play, but God, he's a handful, and he's a hardy boy for a small man, and he 2 huge marks. Frees were generally good, and link play well up for Mayo. He's kind of the driving force behind them, I think, in terms of their attacking their attacking ability, and I was impressed around. I don't know, but as Matthew said, there's goalkeepers all over the place, flying the flag, getting plenty of scores, long range frees. Great to see, especially in such bad conditions on the Saturday. Galligan, I think especially, he nailed 4 frees. They would split the post of 4 of them. Very, very impressive.
What about yourself, Mr. Hurley?
Yeah, like I definitely probably think Ryan O'Donoghue will get it, and deservedly so. Like 7 points, as Dan said, their outstanding performance, and I think he was the top scorer in Division 1 with 2 goals and 31 points. So in an overall sense, he was absolutely excellent. I'd probably go for Niall Murphy. I thought for Sligo, like in the first half particularly, he kept them in the game, scoring all of Sligo's 1-3. And without that, I think Sligo would have been gone in that game against Wicklow. So for me personally, I'll give it to Niall Murphy. He showed his skills in Croke Park, and definitely a player to keep an eye out on in the summer, because let's not forget, Sligo could easily find themselves in the Samagora Cup. So either Niall Murphy or Ryan O'Donoghue, I'd say, would be respectable picks, to be honest.
Yeah, beautiful stuff, lads. Beautiful stuff. We will crack into the action. We will start with yesterday's action in the Alliance National Football League Division 1 final in Croke Park. It was Mayo, 14 points, Galway, 11 points. I suppose a bit of shadow boxing to a degree in this particular game, lads. Maybe not a game for the ages. I think Pork Joyce pretty disappointed at the game. Kevin McStay was very much focused on this weekend's championship, so he wasn't getting overly excited. But I suppose, Dan, bit of an uninspiring game.
Yeah, look, both teams fairly defensive. As we talked about off air, it's nearly turning into a game of basketball now when you bring it up to outside the D and then you try and break the other team down. And the other team's praying for a turnover and a breaks in the pace. That was kind of the story of the game. Do you know what, Kevin McStay? I think Mayo were well up for this. I think the reaction after the game showed it. I know we talked a couple of years ago for the Tyrone game when they beat Dublin, and we were saying, what are they doing celebrating on the pitch? And I got the same feeling again yesterday. I thought they were so happy to win the game. They were over the moon to win the game. Aidan O'Shea was down on his knees. Kevin McStay threw his hands up to the air. They really wanted that game, whereas I look at Galway and I would think Galway have way more to work on. I think Galway will be quite happy with how the league went. I know they would have liked to have won yesterday, but I think there's a lot of improvement in them. They had 4 or 5 goal chances. Comer, I suppose, had a couple. He looks rusty. He's half injured. I think come the summertime, I think Galway will be in a better place attacking wise, and I think there's more to come from Galway. I wouldn't be ruling them out, or as Matthew said, a bit of shadow boxing. I think that's probably the case there. I thought it looked like Mayo were all out to win that, and they wanted a bit more in the last 10 minutes, and they got over the line.
Yeah, and I suppose obviously you're kind of making the point there that maybe Mayo after the game did get a bit exciting. Obviously, Aidan O'Shea getting very happy with Kevin McStay. And I know obviously, look, it's a victory in Croke Park. It's another title, but bigger fish to fry, you would like to think, Dan.
Yeah, I think so, and it's just it's a funny one. It's it's great for Mayo to win that game, and I suppose Galway not winning it is another final loss in Croke Park. But I just look at the chances Galway missed, and say Comer on another day could have had 1-3 in the second half. They're 2 evenly matched teams, and it's the scoring accuracy probably is the difference in the game at the end. Shane Walsh kicked 2 45s off his left from the middle of the pitch when he was swinging them over with his right. These kind of things. They're chances that were missed by Galway. Whereas to be fair to Mayo, I think up front they were pretty accurate. And I suppose that was the difference in the game. They're 2 very evenly matched teams.
I suppose obviously will Galway lose much confidence from the defeat yesterday, Dan, or I suppose obviously Mayo getting the win, but is it, I would say, panic stations for Galway, going into the championship? I know it's very condensed, but and obviously with Comer being half fit, much concern for Galway?
Look, I think they have 3 weeks to probably recuperate. Be a huge game now between the winners of Mayo and Roscommon, and that's no foregone conclusion either. I think look, the Connacht Championship, as great as it's been to win it, all that matters now is getting out of the group stages in the All-Ireland series, and I think that really is the focus of all these teams. Look, that's what's going to matter. You're going to want to be playing your best football, and even if you look at Kerry, I'd say Jack O'Connor is even saying that in the press. That's the way he's nearly thinking, that it's the business end of the championship is what they're worried about. So look, of course you don't like losing a national title, but at the same time I think they'll be looking at the bigger prize, I suppose.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what the teams are like after that game yesterday. Mr. Hurley, your thoughts on yesterday's Division 1 final?
Yeah, interesting game, definitely. And I suppose what Dan pointed out there, definitely the accuracy from Galway, particularly at the end with Walsh. Just he was kind of nailing frees all day and then missed the last two, but maybe that was down to he was split decision really, not to decide really going for a goal, going for a point. And in the end, just caught up with Galway, but Galway bigger fish to fry. Look, it's the Connacht Championship next 2 or 3 weeks against that game between Mayo and Roscommon. Mayo, it was key for them to get a trophy. And what I noticed about Mayo, they did play particularly well. Like, they scored 4 points from play, 1 point from play in the second half through Jack Coyne. They still won the game though, and that's an aspect from a Mayo team you wouldn't have said over the last few seasons. Like, they played poorly, they lose the game. Like, case in point, the Tyrone game in 2021, the All-Ireland final. They were off at that day. They still lost the game. They were off it yesterday and they won it. So fair play to Mayo for that. Like, Ryan O'Donoghue nailing frees. Colin Reid was absolutely excellent in goal as well. So brilliant performances from Mayo, and I think it was key for Kevin McStay to get that league win under the bed, because I don't think you can argue Mayo were the best team in the league throughout the 7 or 8 games. I thought they were brilliant. They were probably the best team in Division 1. They're the best team in the country right now in terms of performance, in terms of depth. I think they're absolutely outstanding. And they played pretty well yesterday, but I think Galway, if they were planning to win it, I think the concession of frees was the big thing. They conceded 18 frees and most of them were scoreable. Like, Mayo scored 10 points from place balls, which was ultimately the difference of the day. And Galway will have to rue those mistakes, unfortunately. But Mayo then march on. Brilliant result for them, and key for McStay to get his first win. But wouldn't it be the most Mayo thing ever to win yesterday and then to perform poorly against Roscommon next Sunday and lose? So, like, it could happen.
It's interesting, I suppose, alluding to Dan's point, I suppose, Matthew, maybe like the quality, and obviously maybe we were kind of saying off air, we'll obviously touch on the Division 3-4 games in a couple of minutes, but, you know, yesterday should have been the centrepiece of the action, the most exciting, and maybe teams are holding fire for the championship, of course they probably are, but coming away from the Division 1 final, you just wouldn't be overly enthused.
You wouldn't be, no, at all. And to be honest, like, a lot of Division 1 finals over the last few seasons, you'd have one team that just don't care, and then you'd have one team they're gearing up towards championship and hitting form probably at the right time. There was a case in point last year with Kerry. Like, Mayo didn't really care about the final last year. Kerry did. That was the difference of the day. And usually when you come onto these Alliance League finals, like, the two sides, Mayo and Galway, will definitely go to Croke Park in the All-Ireland quarter-final or All-Ireland semi-final further on down the suburb. They'll have their chance. Whereas maybe the difference is the likes of Wicklow, Sligo, Fermanagh, Cavan, the difference is they won't have their day out in the sun later on in the summer. So it's a chance for them to be in the spotlight and perform well. But for Mayo and Galway, it's only a stepping stone to perform well in the Connacht Championship. So it's in a way, it's not a surprise that the game was pretty poor. Maybe they're planning for later on down the summer, like these defensive tactics. But when you look at Mayo in the 7 games, like, Mayo were absolutely entertaining, especially in the last 5 days after the Armagh game in match day 2. I thought they were probably one of the most exciting teams in the league. In case in point, the Tyrone game where they hit 4 goals. But yesterday, 4 points from play was pretty poor. But maybe titles are all about winning, and that's what Mayo will only care about. And if Mayo are going to win an All-Ireland playing defensive football, I don't think they'll give a jot, to be honest with you. They haven't won an All-Ireland since 1951 for a reason. Look, they've performed well in All-Ireland finals against Dublin over the years, but they've still come up short. So if this is a way to win the All-Irelands, so be it. And good luck to them. And look, I wasn't surprised at how poor it was yesterday with the Division 1 final. Maybe the Division 2 final, I was a bit shocked, but looking at the past Division 1 finals, I could see why the quality was kind of so poor.
Oh, disappointing to say the least, lads, but such is life. We will move on to the Division 2 action that took place in Croke Park yesterday, Division 2 final. It was Dublin 4-6 Derry, 11 points, 4 goals against a teak tough Derry defence. I wouldn't mind knowing how Dublin managed that in the grand scheme of things. But Dan, your thoughts on this game yesterday?
The first half especially followed suit from up in Celtic Park a month ago. Tit for tat, defensive football. Derry probably had a couple of chances to stake out a bit of a lead and missed them. Dublin's shooting efficiency was poor, which was, I suppose, been a characteristic of them this year, but not like previous years. But look, I think just the quality up front and I suppose the better footballing team won out in the end. Derry are very well drilled, know their roles, but I think Dublin have the bit of class, and I think the bit of class shone through. I was impressed with bar the shooting. Dublin know when to kick the ball and they know when to run it. And when they were running it in twos and threes this time. And that's, I think, up at Celtic Park, they were playing outside of Derry around the loop constantly, whereas I think this time they went at them in twos and threes and they got the gaps with no overlap. And I suppose they took 4 goal chances and could have had probably another 2 or 3. And I think they were fully deserved of their win in the end. Look, Derry picked up a couple of injuries. Conor Glasnow was a concern. I think Rory Gallagher after was kind of playing down the loss. He was saying on League Sunday that that they weren't too bothered about winning the league final. They were more bothered about beating Dublin and seeing what they were about. And look, I don't know, is that a bit of gamesmanship from Rory? No doubting he wanted to win that game. So look, I suppose one thing it highlights is that I think Dublin are still floating around. They're still going to be there at the business end in the semi-final, I'd imagine. And they still have a bit of class now. And with Mannion back, McCaffrey, if they get him fit. And Joe, I suppose one fellow we didn't mention the team a week, but just James McCarthy is just a joy to watch. He's just a dog. He can play it whatever way you want. He can man mark. He can play football. He's just a tough competitor. And you know what? He's unheralded because he's not that much of a showboater. He just goes about his business, but he is some footballer.
Yeah, he's a remarkable talent. So it's kind of coming away from the game, Dan. Like, are we maybe looking at Dublin, as you were kind of saying, like they're all still floating about? Like, are we looking at potential All-Ireland contenders? I wouldn't maybe read too much in that performance, yes, but with the men back, they have to be thereabouts.
Look, I think they're thereabouts still. I think the spine of their team is strong. I thought O'Gara was good now today. He was lively. And like, I suppose the thing is, if Dublin can increase their scoring efficiency, then I suppose, look, that they could have potentially got 5-12 or 5-14 against Derry yesterday. Like, and that's a scary thought, seeing as how everyone else has done against Derry over the last couple of years. So look, they're by no means the team they were, but they're, given the quality we're seeing at the moment, I think they're as good as what's there. Even, I know it's harder to judge on Division 2, but on the big day, you'd give them every chance at Croke Park. They were still in a kick of the ball with Kerry last year, as bad as last year was for them. They were within a kick of the ball at Kerry last year.
Yeah, small margins down, I suppose. Like, what are we thinking with Derry now? And obviously not to overrate the omelette on them, like, but that could have been a winnable game yesterday. I know Croke Park is a bit of a minefield for a lot of teams, especially when you're playing Dublin. But will they be disappointed this week? I know obviously Conor Glass with the injury as well. Like, it's a game that potentially could have won and just couldn't get over the line.
Yeah, I don't know, could they have won this game, being honest with you? I think Dublin were, by the end of it, I know what Matthew thinks, I thought Dublin were comfortable by the end of it. Good first half, but I think once the floodgates opened and they got the goal or two ahead, the game was over. And Dublin, to be fair to them, they're good enough defensively. They're not as defensive as Derry, obviously, but they're great in the scramble. Like, you find it very hard to break them down. Their scramble defending is brilliant when there's chances. They get men back around the D. And it's going to be interesting. Derry, look, they have to go into Ulster now as a kind of the big fish this year, I suppose, as opposed to last year. They were coming in under the radar, and I think teams know what to expect from them. And we've seen with this very defensive football over the years, it'll only get you so far at the end of the day. I think obviously Donegal were the outlier, but I think the class comes through in the end in terms of football. Might be good enough to win Ulster again, but look, I think the Tyrones of this world will be licking their lips to get a chance off Derry this year. Now that maybe that's just me, and I suppose I don't like this defensive football.
Don't think anyone does, Dan. Don't think anyone does.
Yeah, look, I think it'll get them so far. They've done amazing to, I suppose, win Ulster with it last year, and I suppose get close to All Ireland. But I suppose when it comes to the business end, it's the kind of quality attacking football that usually is the difference. And I suppose that's why, look, Mayo have been there with the last number of years. They want to play attacking football. Kerry, Dublin, Galway to a lesser extent, I suppose, but they still have Shane Walsh and Comer. So it's to my mind, you have to be very strong defensively, but it's the top 3 or 4 up front that are going to win the games for you in the end.
I suppose kind of last point on it, Dan, like obviously the World and Ulster Championship, we're playing this kind of defensive football, and I suppose when it kind of comes to the business end, the All Ireland teams, it can like Kerry, they're Dublins of this world. That's where they might struggle, because they are that good at teams. They know how to break the stuff down. And whereas in Ulster, we're so used to playing this defensive style of football. So maybe when it gets to the All Ireland stage, that's where they may struggle.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, there's no denying either. Like Croke Park trying to play defensive football is totally different to trying to play in Clonus or some of the county grounds around the country. It's just, if you're not fully on it and the other team knows what they're about, there's very little places to hide. I suppose the same happened to them. They conceded 2 goals against Galway last year, and I suppose when you are a defensive-minded team, chasing a lead is a hard thing to do. And even you could say Donegal the first couple of years before they won their All-Ireland, excellent defensively, but couldn't get the scores, and once they clicked up front and had McFadden and Murphy and got them enough ball and had runners from deep everywhere, they were a different team. They could attack, but they could defend with a blanket, but they could attack in a wave. And I don't think Derry are there yet. I'm not sure, Bar McGuigan, if they have the quality to do it.
Yeah, no, you're right, Dan. I think going forward, they might just be lacking 1 or 2 forwards to get over the line with a Sam Maguire title. Your thoughts on yesterday, Matthew?
Yeah, interesting enough game, because they were in like both sides. I think were like, yes, I get the point. Like Dublin definitely tried to play football, and Derry were going to be defensive from the outset. But to be honest, it was a poor performance by both sides yesterday in certain aspects. Like Derry, I don't know, ever since Conor Glass went off, they just folded. And you look at Chris McCaig, who was here, he got an injury against Cork last week as well. Like without them 2 lads, I think Derry in the next few weeks could struggle. It could be the make and break them for the next few weeks, and it could be a big few weeks for them. For Dublin, they tried to play football in fairness, but to be honest, like even look at Dublin, they could have had 7-8 goals. Look at Darragh Newcombe hit the post. John Small should have had a goal in the first half. Kieran Kilkenny, I think, went through and goal and fisted it over the bar. I think there was another chance. Cian O'Gara kicked the ball wide. Like there was a load of chances that Dublin could have had, and it's more worrying from a Derry point of view, to be honest, that they're conceding these amount of goal chances. And overall for Dublin, they had a 38% shot conversion rate yesterday. That's not the Dublin of old. Like you've seen this, I think, in the All-Ireland final in 19 in the replay. I think they had over nearly the 80% conversion rate. So that's some fall. But a positive for Dublin, you look at the lads on the bench. You have Cluxton back in there, and he's good behind the scenes. You have Paul Mannion, you have Craig Diaz, you have Jack McCaffrey, who wasn't even on the panel yesterday. You have Paddy Small on the bench. Dublin are coming back. And you have James McCarthy, as Dan mentioned as well, who's a colossal figure in midfield. You have Tom Laheath, who's actually a decent player as well, coming into his own. Brian Fenton, still a brilliant player. Kieran Kilkenny didn't even start yesterday. So the numbers are still there for Dublin, and they will have a say in the championship. Will they get a test in Leinster? I don't think so. I just don't think the Leinster teams are up to their standard. But I think if they go into the All-Ireland qualifier group, I think they're probably in as good a stage as they have been this season. Like earlier on the season, we were talking about Dublin in crisis. Now that they have the lads back, they're playing with a free-flowing football. Look, the shot accuracy will come. It will come once they improve, once they get Paul Mannion back at the training ground once they get Jack McCaffrey fully up to fitness. And while we're on Paul Mannion as well, lads, the penalty was absolutely superb. He couldn't have stuck it even more in the bottom corner than he did. Like, it's superb penalty and rolling back the ears, definitely. And yeah, I think the Dubs, they're definitely back, and I don't think anybody in the country would want to play them. Look at the players coming back and the form that they could potentially be on later on down the summer.
Paul Mannion's left foot or Donny Goulding's left foot, Matt?
Jeez, you're putting me on the spot there, Dan. No, seriously, it has to be Dan. Has to be.
But I get his speed, so could be his speed.
Swap. Brilliant stuff, lads. Brilliant stuff. Nicely said, nicely wrapped up. And we will move on to Saturday's action in the Division 3 final in Croke Park. It was Cavan, 16 points for Mana 1-7. So it was Matthew. Cavan started very, very slowly. I suppose Mickey Graham was very, forthcoming in his post-match analysis, just saying Cavan started snail pace, I suppose, whatever was said at half-time. They're really up the ante for Mana. I thought we were going to park the bus in the second half. Thank God they didn't. Would have led to an awful spectacle. But Cavan will go home with the Division 3 title.
And again, like Mayo, I don't think Cavan would give a jot about the quality of the game. They just won it, and simple as that. And it wasn't the greatest game of football. Like, the first score from play came after 22 minutes, which, Jesus, that was shocking stuff. It was a tough watch at times, and that was mostly down to Fermanagh. And I thought Fermanagh, to be fair to them, look at their scoring stats going into the game, the fact they've conceded 11 goals in 7 games, I thought they'd open up more. But they just came to Croke Park with a defensive plan, tried to make the game boring. It didn't work to a certain extent, but it didn't work long enough, unfortunately. Like, in fairness, like, Darragh McGorn's goal was a brilliant finish, I have to say, the first half. But Cavan, they got their players in the right position. So I think Cavan had 6 goal chances yesterday. McGorn saved 1, and Sean McNally saved the other 5. So Cavan could have ran away with this game, really. But they won the game. Like, Paddy Lynch was outstanding at times. Like, Raymond Gallagher, brilliant leader, brilliant captain. And he led from the front with 4 points as well. Garrett McKiernan was brilliant. Oisin Brady, even Conor Batten coming on, adding that extra spark for Cavan. Darragh McVitie, I've said it before, he's an excellent footballer. Playing centre back for Cavan.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, and it's funny, even when, you know, Darragh's relatively quiet, like, he has this aura about him, that bit of leadership, that bit of drive. It's kind of like when Darragh's on the pitch, Cavan just automatically play better because he's such a good leader, Matthew.
He is, and he's an excellent playmaker. He's an excellent leader, and he's the most ideal player for that Cavan team as well. And again, like, a lot of people were saying Thomas Gallagher would be a huge miss for Cavan. It doesn't seem you boys miss him, to be honest with you.
In midfield,
and he's an excellent,
maybe. In midfield, yeah. But yeah.
Maybe, yeah, but look at you against Fermanagh. I thought you were pretty good. And look, you have a real chance of beating Armagh. Like, you look at Armagh's form, it's nearly done. Well, they play Antrim now on Saturday, which should be interesting in itself to see how they perform, how they play, really. Will they play to a defensive system, or will they go attacking again? But if Armagh still employ a defensive system, I think Cavan have a huge chance of beating them. I really do, and they could get into an Ulster final as well. And even if Cavan don't get into an Ulster final, you'd probably have to have them, along with Clare, front runners for the Tailteann Cup. So, like, Cavan could have a really good year. I'm telling you, John. So I'd say you'd be happy out. So it won't be the only trophy you could be celebrating by the end of the year.
Oh, I wouldn't just get too ahead of myself. There's a lot of ducks getting a row before we get there. Mr. Hurley, Jack McKenna was whipped off after 19 minutes. Obviously, Colin Parkinson obviously standing up for Mr. McKenna. Don't know if the two men ever met before, maybe in a nightclub, whatever. But obviously, he was whipped off after 19 minutes. Obviously, Colin was maybe making the point that it was very unfair in a final. But I suppose maybe Jack McKenna's performance up until that, I think you've got a yellow, and maybe Mickey was concerned about a second yellow, but I don't know, does that put much confidence in Mr. McKenna?
Possibly it doesn't, but you mentioned it there, John. Like, you could see why he brought him off. Like, he was on a yellow card, the forwards were buzzing around him. You look at Darragh McGorn on the field, Ryan Lyons, like, they're speeding up forwards, and once they get away, he makes a tackle, and then he's off the pitch. So it might have derailed his confidence a small bit, but you have to take into account as well, it was maybe a bit of shrewd management from Mickey Graham at a time when needed. Like, because if Cavan got a man sent off, and the way Fermanagh were playing, they could have easily lost that game, you know. So you could take that into that point of view as well. But look, it should be all forgotten, you know. Jack McKenna, I'm sure, I'm sure he's a player that will probably understand Mickey Graham's decision in the weeks to come. He will understand it. Look, it was a yellow card. He had to take him off, and it was for the good of the team. Look, but in some ways it was a harsh enough decision because maybe he's a young enough player. But at the same time, you have to understand Mickey Graham's thinking around it as well, because once a Fermanagh forward gets away from him, there's no stopping him from putting in the hand and getting him sent off at the same time. So maybe it was a big decision for Mickey Graham that won Cavan the game.
He said it in the post-match interview. He said that it cost us a Talented Cup last year that we didn't act. So he pretty much said it was because he was on a yellow card.
Yeah, there we go. Dan, your thoughts on Cavan's win on Saturday night?
Yeah, look, I suppose going into the game, I would have expected it looking at the Cavan team. Like a lot of these lads have Ulster medals. I suppose they never should have been in Division 4, probably shouldn't have been in Division 3. They're not, like, they have that much talent in their squad. Todd Porrick Faulkner did a good job on Ulton Coyne after the previous week. No, I suppose Fermanagh did bring it back to a point, and I suppose just before they took him off, Gerard McKiernan got a great point to put them up 2 again, and I think that settled Cavan, and I think the bench did the business then. Yeah. I think they got 2 points off the bench, and they just injected a bit of life into the game, and Fermanagh couldn't live with it. I'd agree. Yeah, their half back line was impressive. Like, obviously, Kieran Brady and Darren McVeety is he's a great bit of stuff. He's just a quality footballer, and didn't have his most influential game, but he just has this calmness on the ball, and he's reassuring. And Paddy Lynch had a good first half. Thought he was quiet in the second half, but then I thought Oisin Brady and Ryan O'Neill were buzzing around the place, and that they were causing the Fermanagh backs hassle all day. But look, I think a job done for Cavan. I suppose all eyes towards Armagh now for them, and potential to have a right good cut off them. I think they have the quality in terms of the players they have, and I'd agree with Matthew. I'd give them a right good chance if they play to their potential.
I suppose last thing on it, Dan, from man end of things, obviously Kieran Donnelly would have been hoping for a win on Saturday night, and obviously they played it literally was a game of 2 halves, and I know that's probably a simple enough thing to say, but it definitely was. Obviously Fermanagh had the first half, Cavan had the second, but obviously Cavan got the win in the end. But from man end of things, obviously bringing Sean Quigley on maybe looked a bit dead in its feet from a Fermanagh tactical point of view, and maybe went quite defensive still, but Fermanagh will be quite disappointed, Dan, but look on to go to the championship anyway.
Yeah, look, they'll be disappointed, but I suppose for a league, I think they did well to get to a final. Thought they played well in the first half. I thought they outfought Cavan. They wanted it more. I think they just ran out of legs. They ran out of ideas, and I suppose when a team is tired, you can see the turnovers mounting up, and Cavan turned them over numerous times in the second half. And I suppose, Fermanagh's full forward line probably barred the goal, as Matthew said. She's one of the best goals I've seen in Croke Park in a long time. Just calmness, and to slot it. It was a bit like Canavan back in the All-Ireland final against Kerry. It was a great finish, but I don't think they got enough out of their full forward line. And I think Fermanagh scored 1-2 from their forwards from play, and I suppose that was never going to be enough to beat Cavan on the day. And I think Cavan were deserving winners in the end, and I think the all-round better team and squad overall. Yeah.
So they were enjoying the weekend, though. The lads were in Boar's Head yesterday evening, and they're all a very, very humble bunch of lads, obviously having the crack and keeping amongst themselves, and obviously great respect for. Sorry, Dan.
Tell them they should be down in Cavan standing up for the ladies footballers. That's what they should be doing.
Yeah. They'll get down yet. Oh, well, you're very true. Obviously, a very missy.
Jeez, I was listening to the podcast there. What's that Cavan podcast? I was listening.
Oh, we can't be promoting them, Dan. We can't. We can't. I'm only joking.
You get them women on. God, that's frightening stuff.
Oh, maybe just a word on that, lads. Obviously, news did break last week about the Cavan ladies not getting their expenses and just not getting general gear, and obviously I think Cavan ladies did make the effort to do even a bit of fundraising. The county board did kind of turn it down. So I suppose your thoughts on it, Matthew?
Yeah, shocking that's happened really. When you think about Cavan, they're a senior ladies championship side. And for that to happen to them, like, I mean, I know when you think about it in the long run, like Meath proved it that you could go from intermediate to senior and then win the All Ireland, and you get the rewards from that point of view. But then you look at this Cavan story, and the teams down in intermediate and junior must be thinking, like, what's the point of it all if this is going to keep continuing? And you look, like, I think in general, the ladies football and the camogie, it's good for streaming and all that, but like some of the decisions they've made over the last few years have just been baffling, really, bizarre. Like when you look at like even player welfare, we go back to even 2020 with the Cork and Galway, they were moving the Gaelic grounds to Parnell Park, to Crow Park, and that was within 2 days. That was a disgrace when it happened that day as well. And yeah, I mean, you don't know when it's going to stop. There has to become a point now where every one of the 4 codes have to be under the one umbrella for these incidents to stop happening. Simple as that. And fair play to the Cavan ladies. They came out with a stance, and hopefully this sort of incident doesn't happen again. But to be honest, John, I hate to say this now, but I think an incident like this could be around the corner as well in the next few years. This sort of incident, it could be brushed under the carpet now once it's all settled down. And then in next year or so, it comes up for another county again. Yeah. Like, you know, it's worrying times, really.
Yeah. I suppose, yeah, Dan, it definitely has been a very unsettling couple of weeks for the Cavan ladies. And obviously, the Cavan ladies did go on the podcast. They were very, very vocal in their views. And definitely not good luck from a Cavan GA point of view. We're obviously getting over the line at Croke Park, obviously from the men's point of view. But the ladies, it definitely has been a lot of unrest.
Yeah, look, they were very vocal, but to be fair to them, they were so measured. Like, they're still not even asking for a lot. That's the scary thing. Like, they were asked, I think they were asked a question about, and what expenses are the girls that actually living in Cavan looking for? Oh, we're not looking for any expenses. We're only looking for the driver of the car of 5 to be covered up and down from Dublin. It's madness. Yeah. You know, I feel for them. I think it's awful in this day and age.
It is shocking. Yeah, no doubt about it.
Yeah. And you know, fair play to them for making a stance. Like the fact that a girl joins midway through the league and she doesn't get a pair of socks and shorts because she wasn't on the 26th to start the year. And you know what? The one good thing, at least from the sounds of it sounds like the management and the players are on the same hymn sheet, which is great. You know. Yeah. And the players have a huge amount of respect for their management team, and at least they're all in it together. But look, it's a shame in this day and age. If this happened in the 80s, you wouldn't expect this in the 80s, being honest. Not of mine now. So look, hopefully the powers that be come to their senses and get this sorted.
Yeah, it's quite unsettling. Obviously, I think Cavan ladies GA did kind of put up something on their Facebook page, but not really much learned from it. So a bit of leadership is definitely required, and I think it's the second week we're coming into this debate. So yeah, it is not good stuff, Dan. It is definitely not good stuff, and hopefully there can be a bit of clarity around the situation very, very soon to let people know what is happening. And we will move on to Division 4 action that took place on Saturday in Croke Park. It was Sligo 2-10, Wicklow 14 points. Obviously a lot of emotion going into this game. It was obviously a year since the late great Red Oak Murphy passed away, and I suppose it's obviously very fresh in people's memory. And it's probably hard to speak about it, but obviously we touched on it on the podcast last year. And if there's any general message to anyone out there, if there's anyone struggling or going through bad times, please pick up the phone or get on to your mates, get on to anyone at all, because I think life is definitely for living, and we have a fantastic life in front of us. So just look after yourselves, and obviously Red Oak Murphy, God be good to Mr. Hurley.
Yeah, and obviously condolences to his parents to go through the year. It's absolutely horrific, you know, what they've gone through. And even for his parents to speak to, it was Malachy Clorkin as well, and speaking on a podcast recently as well. Like, they're very brave to come out and speak about their young son as well, and sympathies to his family. And fair play to Noel Murphy as well in the post-match speech as well. Just to mention Red Oak, this one was for him. And it certainly was. The performance definitely epitomised that because, like, in fairness, like not just Sligo but Wicklow as well. I thought both of them acquitted themselves excellently in Croke Park. I thought they were both superb. And isn't it great just to see both of these sides play in Croke Park, because I barely get to see them. Like, for example, Kevin Quinn, I think Owen Murtagh, Mark Jackson, Podge O'Toole for Wicklow in particular. Like, I've never seen Wicklow play a game on national TV, and that was the first time I've seen them. And I was impressed with him. Like, Kevin Quinn, what a baller he is. 5 points. I think he scored a hat-trick in the Leinster Championship last year as well. Excellent player. I definitely want to watch in the Leinster Championship come this season. Podge O'Toole, very good. Owen Darcy, excellent. Mark Jackson kicking frees as well. Brilliant points from him. Niall Murphy was outstanding for Sligo. 1-3 in the first half and definitely led his team to perfection there. And he scored an absolutely brilliant point in the second half to help them on their way as well. Pat Spillane, and I love the photo with the father as well. Like, brilliant photo in Croke Park, brilliant memento there. But he's a brilliant performance from him, and he could be as good as his dad. Maybe that's a opinion, but we'll have to see over the next few weeks, definitely. But yeah, Sean Carbine was excellent as well. Evan Lyons was brilliant. Donal Lyons, I think, is the name of the goalkeeper for Sligo. Very good, very calm in possession. So yeah, both of them had excellent performances, and I think both counties will have a very good year. Wicklow, I think Tailteann Cup is definitely there for them. I know Cavan could be big favourites, Clare are big favourites, but if Wicklow win it, like, it wouldn't surprise me, I don't think, because you look at the players coming through there, and you look at their under-20s win over Offaly the other night as well in Leinster. Wicklow football's on the way up. Sligo, they could easily get to a kind of final as well, so fair play to them as well. So yeah, excellent to see those two counties on national television in Croke Park, and I think two of those sides will have a very good year this season.
Absolutely. I suppose, Dan, just briefly get your thoughts, obviously, going into this game with, obviously, I suppose the Red Oak situation very much fresh in people's minds. What's your situation, or what's your mindset a year on from the whole situation?
Yeah, look, I think you both covered it exceptionally well. For the poor man, it's awful. Young man with his life ahead of him, and I suppose for his family as well, it just leads a devastating gap in their lives, and such a talented footballer as well. And look, I think it was fitting. It was a year to the day that Sligo went up and won the Division 4 competition, and look, Matthew said it, Niall Murphy covered it, couldn't have covered it any better. And look, hopefully that will give his family, and I suppose all the players, will give them some bit of comfort. Look, that they did it for him, and I suppose marked his 1 year anniversary the way they did. I'd echo what you said, John, though. If there's any bad thoughts in anyone's head, just pick up the phone, talk to your girlfriend, talk to your friends, just talk to anyone. Don't let it fester inside you, that's all. I think you're spot on what you said.
Yeah, I think it's very, I wouldn't say close to home, but it's very, I suppose, for the times we're in, and obviously I suppose there is probably a lot of, maybe I wouldn't, GA people, right? Everyone probably is struggling maybe with a lot of stuff that's going on a bit, but you'd like to think everyone's, I suppose, speaking to each other, talking to each other, and it's all inclusive, because I know obviously, the cost of living, just maybe people are going through stressful times within it. So hopefully people's in good mindsets this weather, and obviously they can maybe learn from Red Oak's past, and to just pick up the phone or do whatever you can. I suppose your thoughts on the game, Dan, briefly.
Yeah, look, I think in fairness to Wicklow, they came out all guns blazing. Very lively in the first half, and Sligo were a bit sluggish. Niall Murphy kept them in the game. I suppose Wicklow had a chance to take a point and put them up 5, I think, and missed it, went down the pitch. Great quick hands kind of move to get the goal by Niall Murphy in the end, and I suppose Sligo took over in the second half, got their second goal, could have had a couple more, and I suppose the small bit of extra class and panel showed for Sligo in the end. I think, look, Sligo are in year 3 under McEntee. I suppose he's developed a stronger squad now. They know what they're about. They're a bit more down the line than Wicklow, but I think Oisin McConville will be delighted. 4 or 5 months in the job of, I suppose, getting promoted, nearly taking the league final as well. I think he'll be over the moon with how things are going, and I think Matthew's right, the future is bright in Wicklow. And look, I think all these a lot of these Division 4 counties and Division 3 counties are putting in huge effort. And look, I think Loud especially, Loud are banging the drum with 10 years quietly. And they have ambition. And look, they were within one game of getting to Division 1. And I suppose, look, that's what all these teams are aiming for. And I even met Pat Spillane Senior out in holidays last year, and he was telling me, I suppose, about the son playing with Sligo and how seriously it's taken up there. They have a serious setup there, and I suppose if you can keep at that for a couple of years, you're going to make progress. And I think they'll all be looking at the Low template with their developments and their underage squads, and they'll be saying, right, geez, if they can do this, if they can get a Mickey Hart in to take us to the next level, we've Tony McEntee, Oisin McConnell, these fellas, we can do the same. And look, that's the good side of football. I suppose as much as we give out about the Dower football at times in terms of blanket defences, there is a lot of teams making a huge amount of progress, and long may continue.
Absolutely, Dan. Well said. And obviously, Oisin McConnell v Tony McEntee along the line. It was intriguing to watch, but Mr. McEntee came out on top this time. But no doubt, Oisin McConnell is making absolutely fantastic strides with that Wicklow team. And as Dan said, long may continue. We will touch briefly on this weekend's championship action, lads. It's hard to believe, the 8th of April, and we're talking about the championship. There we go. It's going to fly, lads. We will touch on Saturday's action briefly in the Connacht Senior Football Championship quarterfinals. It's London against Sligo in McGovern Park at 3 p.m. Mr. Hurley.
Yeah, Sligo definitely would be favourites for this game, especially after their Division 4 success last weekend. But London Ruislip is always a hard place to go. I don't think Sligo will have it easy, really. I think it'll be under 5 points that they'll win by in the end, but Sligo should win this game. London, bottom of the league in Division 4, Enda Linen, an experienced player from Derry. Look, I think they'll make it difficult. They'll make it a hostile atmosphere. They'll try their best, London, but I think Sligo will just have too much to win this game.
Yeah, I think so. I think after last weekend, they'll have a lot of confidence, and it'll be a massive upset if London were to do it. But I think Sligo should have enough quality to see them home. We have New York against Leitrim in Gaelic Park at 11 p.m. on Saturday night, and it will be on GA Go. So obviously, a few late night birds might be up watching that game, Dan. One to look forward to, I suppose.
Yeah, it is. Do you know what? And it's if I was Leitrim, I would not fancy going over here.
Yeah.
I think Johnny Glynn is nearly player manager. I think the Galway hurler. He's heavily involved with them anyway. I know.
Yeah.
Fintan Gould that played with me. He was down watching them. He's after moving to New York. He was down watching him train, and he said they have a good quality squad, and they have a good few Kerry ex-tip players. I think Campbell is there. I think Enda Varley's there. They'll be Carty from they used to play with Dublin. They have a decent squad there. Now, will it be enough? I suppose the lack of competitive football is always a huge disadvantage. But if I saw them beating Leitrim, I wouldn't be surprised. Look, you'd still have to expect Leitrim have the 7 or 8 league games behind them. We're lucky not to get to Division 4 final. But this I think you know yourself, when New York come across the lesser teams, the so-called lesser teams in Connacht, they always fancy themselves, and I think this will be a tight game.
Okay.
And you know what? For the crack, I'm going to go for New York to do the business.
Oh, Mr. Gould must be telling you a few things we don't know. That would be interesting. You could be looking at a bit of a weekend there. We will move on to the Ulster Senior Football Championship preliminary round. Obviously, the first game of the Ulster Championship is Armagh against Antrim in Boxes Athletic Grounds at 5 p.m. Mr. Hurley.
Yeah, to be honest, Armagh, they look very poor in Division 1. And as I said earlier on the chat here, it depends what way Armagh play. If they're going to play a defensive style of football, I think they're going to struggle in the championship this season. If they're going to play an attacking style of football, I think they'll excel. So it really depends. But overall, Armagh have to reach an Ulster final. They haven't reached an Ulster final since 2008. And to be honest, for a county with the prestige as Armagh have, I think that's a bit embarrassing for them. So they have to they have to reach an Ulster final this season. They probably have to go on and win it as well, because when you look at the Ulster finalists that have been in the final since Armagh have been there, it's literally all of them. Like Antrim even have been to an Ulster final more recently than Armagh, and like it's getting pretty bad at this stage for them. You'd have to expect Armagh to win this game. Although Antrim, like the last game in the Athletic Grounds, I think at the Ulster Champ, I think it was 2021. Antrim put it up to them for I think 50 minutes of that game, and then Armagh away at the end. So it could be a tricky assignment for Kieran McGeeney and Kieran Donaghy there, but I still think Armagh should have way too much, with or without Rian O'Neill and the team. They still have excellent quality players, and if Conor Turgott shows his form from the Tyrone game, I think they should have way too much, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I think Armagh should definitely get the troops rallied, especially it's a home game as well. And obviously the winners play Cavan in the next round, so it'll be interesting to see how that goes on Sunday. But you should be definitely looking at an Armagh win on Sunday. Next, you have in the Connacht Senior Football Championship quarter-final, you have Mayo against Roscommon in Hastings, McHale Park at 4 p.m. The game is not live on TV. Am I correct in saying that, Matthew?
It's live on RT2.
Yeah, okay, yeah, that just probably needs to update. So, yeah, okay, maybe it needs to update. Mr. Goulin, your thoughts on this one?
It's on in McHale Park, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, look, I'd give it to Mayo on that basis. I think if it was on Hyde Park, it would be a very tricky assignment for Mayo. Roscommon will be licking their lips at this. They've had a very good league. Mayo would have to manage coming off a bit of a high, and I suppose focusing the minds again pretty quickly. Now, to be fair, I think Max Day has put a bit of steel into Mayo. He's given them a bit of belief. As Matthew said earlier, there was times in that game where the questions were asked of them, they stood up and they were counted, and I suppose finished the game quite strong. They look to have a bit more this year. Aidan O'Shea is playing well for them. He's back playing well. Their bench that came on the last day, Conroy came on, O'Loughlin came on. Look, they've a very strong bench, and I suppose that ultimately might be what wins them this game when it comes down to the last 10 or 15 minutes. They have the bench, and look, it's going to be, these games, they're tough games up there in the Connacht Championship. They literally kick lumps out of each other, and it's going to go down to the last 10 or 15 minutes. And look, I think Mayo, based on what we've seen this year, will and what Max Day has brought to the table, will have enough to get over the line.
Yeah, I think so, Dan. Obviously, Davy Burke will be mad to get a win in that game. And obviously, me and you'd be having secret conversations about the fortunes and favours of Roscommon, but we will wait and see how that goes this weekend. And we'll move on to the Leinster Senior Football Championship preliminary round. You have Wicklow against Carlow in Aughrim at 2:30. Mr. Hurley.
Yeah, to be honest, I think Wicklow should win this game. Like Carlow, look, they're relying on a few players like Ross Dunphy and especially Dar Foley to get them scores. Foley scores 47 points in Division 4, which tells its own story. And he scored, I think, 111 out of 113 in the Burn Cup as well. He's a big player for Carlow. And if Wicklow can manage to keep him quiet, I think they should be just fine in this game. You look at the players I mentioned earlier on, Kevin Quinn, Padro too, Mark Jackson. They have brilliant players all over the field. I think Wicklow should easily win this game.
Easily. Okay, absolutely. Well, Aughrim, obviously, home advantage probably will be key for that one. And then you have Longford against Offaly in Glennon Brothers Pierce Park at 3 p.m. Mr. Goulin.
Oh, God, I'd say flick a coin, to be honest with you. Going to be a tight game. It was Offaly never really pushed on from the progress they'd made a couple of years ago. Longford were relegated to Division 4, I'm right in saying I'm doing. Look, you'd fancy Offaly to get over the line, but just about, I'd say. I don't think either team will be putting much of a dent in the Leinster Championship this year, the way things have gone so far. I think the likes of Wicklow have obviously made a lot of progress, and look, I'll give it to Offaly.
Absolutely, Dylan. And we will move on to Laois against Wexford in Laois, Higher O'More Park at 3:30. Mr. Hurley.
tighter game, this one. I think this again, like Daniel said about Longford and Offaly, this could be a flip of a coin as well. Like Laois, they made some strides in Division 4 in fairness to them. Like they lost to Wicklow, which kind of sailed them off a small bit. They lost to Leitrim as well, and they were very close to promotion in fairness to them. And they have the likes of Mark Barry, Evan O'Carroll, Owen Lowry, what's his name, Paul Kingston as well. Excellent players, Laois do individually. I think Wexford, like John Haggerty, seems to be doing a good job there after his job at Shelmaliers. He seems to be steadying the ship a small bit. Like, it's going to be a tough one to call. I don't think there's going to be the urge to win the game, considering who's next. They're going to play Dublin if they win this game, either of them. So like, it's an obvious loss there. So it's going to be a tough one. I'm just going to say a name. I'm going to go Wexford to win it. I know it's in Portlaoise, but I'm just going to say Wexford win it. They usually have the upper hand in these Leinster derby type of games, and they beat Offaly last year as well. So I think Wexford could be on the verge of another bout with Dublin.
Yeah, I think Mr. Cooley must have a bit of a laugh at some of your honest analysis there. You're probably right, though. What do you think, Dan?
I've never seen a team wanting to go in to lose a game to play with Dublin, but I totally get it.
Mr. Hurley, he is honest as day turns night, but yeah, that's the analysis we love. I love honesty. That honesty is the best policy. Munster Senior Football Championship quarter-final action. It's Tipperary against Waterford. FPD Central Stadium, 2 p.m. Tipperary for the win. Mr. Goulin.
I think so. Look, Waterford have struggled this year. Now, Tip aren't exactly setting the world alight, but I'd imagine Tip will still be a small bit too strong for Waterford when it comes to it. I think Waterford football, unfortunately, is, I suppose, at a low ebb at the moment. I think that their hurling counterparts take most of the limelight down there. And yeah, look, I'd fancy Tip to win by 4 or 5 points here.
Yeah, I think it's probably one of the more obvious results of the weekend. And then last game of the weekend, lads, it's Clare against Cork in Cusack Park, Ennis, at 2 p.m. I suppose it'll be a very, very tight game, this one.
Yeah, I'd be if we get out of there with a win, I'd be delighted, to be honest with you. I know we went up there and won the league, but that was actually probably our best performance in the league, bar the Dublin game. Lot depends on if Brian Hurley's back fit. He was missing the last 2 games of the league and with a shoulder injury. And look, he sets the tempo for the forward line. He's the kind of dog. He's all action. He's a leader and he's their captain. And look, we really need him on the pitch firing. You'll never go to Ennis against a Collins team and get out of there without having a huge fight. So I'd be hoping Cork have improved enough over the league. We've seen signs of it. In with some bits of mediocrity here and there, we've seen signs of improvement, and Kevin Walsh is, I suppose, putting a stamp on things. And look, I'd hope if Cork play to their potential, I think they'll get out of there with a 2 or 3 point win. But Cork really need to be at the races. If it's a kind of an average, kind of substandard performance by them, I'd worry.
It's one of the more intriguing games of the weekend, that's hard to say. We'll definitely try to get eyes on it. Mr. Hurley.
Yeah, as Dan rightly said there, yeah, I'd be just delighted as a Cork fan just to get out of the game with a win. And I probably would have said at the start of the season, if Cork were to beat Clare 3 times away from home, that would be a monumental achievement. Like, they beat them in now, I think, near Spanish point in the McGrath Cup, beat them in the league, and they have to beat them now and again in the championship. And make no mistake about Clare will be up for the game. You look at Owen Cleary, Emma McMahon, Aaron Griffin, those type of players, most of them would have played UL in the Sigerson Cup final. They don't want to be playing Tailteann Cup. They'll be up for the game. And I think Clare will definitely give it to Cork. But for Cork to win it, I think they need to perform close to perfect to beat Clare. And I think they need their matchups correct. Like, I think, as far as I know, I think Dan will know more about this now, but I think Daniel O'Mahony was on Emma McMahon in the last game. If that's the case again, I think that's a good matchup there, because McMahon's a brilliant forward in form for Clare, and O'Mahony, I think, is an excellent defender for Cork. Hurley being fit, as Dan said, yeah, it's going to be massive. Sherlock, if he needs to score more from play, if we're going to win the game, Chris O'Jones needs to buzz around the place as well. Rory Dean, I think could be a big player as well. Conor Corbett running off the ball, I think they could be excellent. Colm O'Callaghan and Ian Maguire, as far as I know, I think Darren O'Neill is going to miss this game. So I think Ian Maguire and Colm O'Callaghan have to get on the front foot early on to win this game. And I think all the signs point towards a Cork win, but I wouldn't be the slightest bit surprised if Clare come out with a win, because they'd be dying to get a victory. They would not want to be in the Tattoo Cup, especially after being in an All-Ireland quarter-final last season.
Absolutely, lads. Well, the very best of luck to both of you this weekend. That would be an absolutely intriguing game to look forward to. Mr. Goulin, your bet of the weekend and player to watch?
Bet of the weekend is New York. I'm going to double down.
Price on it.
Yeah, I wouldn't put the house. I would put the house on it. No.
The mortgage.
Yeah, she said no. Maybe price of a cup of coffee or something. But yeah,
the Cavan man's bet.
I'm going to come on to the show gloating next week for 2 minutes if I'm right here. Player of the week then. Oh God. Look, in general, would like to see what Mayo are about in terms of doubling down on their performance last week. Do you know what? Aidan O'Shea is a player to watch. He's been excellent in the league this year. Really turned the corner. I know that we're in championship time again now, and it'll be interesting to see can he follow on from his excellent league campaign, and can, I suppose, he start a new championship, I suppose, when things haven't gone so well from the last year or two. Can he be still one of the leading forces behind Mayo for their run of Connacht?
Yeah, good championship from Mr. Aidan O'Shea. Will be interesting on day to see. Mr. Hurley, last word with you.
Yeah, player of the week, player to watch, rather, I think I'm going to go with Paddy Durkin. I think this is the sort of game where he turns up for Mayo, and I'm going to go for him. I think O'Shea has done well in recent games, and he probably, by the way, I think Aidan O'Shea will have an outstanding summer. I think he's definitely primed to do so, and yeah, he'll have a very good year, but my player to watch will be Paddy Durkin. The game, the best of the weekend, I'm going to go for it. I'm going to say Waterford will beat Tipperary. You know what? I'm just going to go for it because Tip have been poor. Conor Sweeney's injured. I'm just going to go for it. I think it could be a really, really big win for Fitzgerald and his team. I think it could be a monumental victory for Waterford. It could be shock of the weekend. Dan,
what you make of that one? I'm about to lose my bloody breath here, Matt. The odds could be outrageous in that, lads. Is there any odds up for that?
What are the odds in it? Be honest with you. I know New York about 3-2, and I was saying, geez, I'm away off here, but yeah. No, I will say Matthew's right in the sense if Fitzgerald is a serious competitor. He's won a lot of senior counties with Nemo. He knows what he's about. So look, but yeah, that's a big shout.
Mr. Hurley's studying psychology at the minute. Maybe you know something we don't know, Mr. Hurley, do you?
Jeez, all I know is Conor Sweeney's out injured, and psychologically that could have a major effect on Tipperary. Like Mickey Quinlan out as well, not committing. I'm telling you, Tipperary, I think it could be on the way down, John. I really think so. Like, I think they had a very good year in 2020. But they won
even with home advantage, even with home advantage, you still think, yeah.
Thing is, though, remember 2019, Limerick came to Semple Stadium and beat them unexpectedly.
Yeah.
So, I'm telling you, like, I think Waterford, it's not a certainty, but I think Waterford, this could be a big chance to get a big scalp.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Oh, love it. It adds to the viewership, it adds to the odds, and maybe we could be making a fortune this weekend. Lads, thanks a million for joining us. Say again, Dan?
But double for you now, anyway.
Oh, 100%. Could be out of fortune, could be up a fortune. We will wait and see. Lads, thanks a million for joining me this week. And of course, this podcast is brought to you by YourGarage.com. You can go to JMAC Podcast to get 15% off on the website. Loads of gear dropping for the championship. And a nice wee Cork jersey dropping this week that Mr. Hurley and Mr. Goulin might be getting their hands on. We will wait and see. Lads, thanks very much.
So lads.
Look. Thanks.
Take care.
Top man.